Are you looking to add functionality to pfSense? Have you heard about something called Cron? Do you want to learn more? Well, stay tuned. I'm going to show you what you need to know about Cron. Welcome to another edition of TechBytes with Ron Nutter, your home for all things relating to smart home technology. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to use Cron to do more with pfSense. Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and we're going to be working on this together. This content is also available as an Amazon Flash briefing or podcast. Please go to techbyteswithronnutter.com for more information. For any items mentioned in this episode, there are affiliate links in the description. If you click on these links, I will get a small commission, but that won't affect the price you pay for the item. If you want to get notified when new content is uploaded, please click on subscribe and enable notifications. Here's what we're going to be covering in this video, and that's how to use Cron to do more with pfSense. First, we're going to go over what is Cron. Then we'll show you how to install it. It's kind of there, but it isn't. And then we'll have you use some Cron usage examples and show you kind of what you're looking at. Because I think once you see this, you're really going to want to start using it. Using Cron is something everybody should be at least familiar with when you're using pfSense or any Linux distro. But there are some features that Cron can make a little more seamless for you. And once you kind of get under the hood and understand what's going on and learn more about Cron, you're going to be able to do quite a bit with us. So first, we're going to go over what is Cron. Cron is basically something that is either added to or becomes a part of most Linux distributions, and it's a command line utility that's a job scheduler, for lack of a better phrase. Now, the trick is going to be learning how to set up those jobs. Some will be very straightforward. Some you'll have to actually set up a command file or a batch file. I know it's not the right term for you Linux folks, but I'm talking to folks other than that. And it's learning how to do it and then figuring out how to troubleshoot when things are not working right. So let's go ahead and get on to pfSense, and we'll go take the next step. To use Cron with pfSense is actually very straightforward. It's there if you want to go to command line, but I'm going to show you a little bit easier way to do it. So let's go over here to System Package Manager, and we'll go to Available Packages. Once it refreshes, you'll just search for Cron. And if we scroll down, we'd find it too. And then we'll confirm. It takes just a second to install, but nothing that's going to be a problem. And you'll say success. Once you've got this done, where you will see it is Services. Guess what? That wasn't there before. So Cron. What this is really doing for you, Cron is already there, but this is giving you a GUI interface to see more of what's going on. That's really in a nutshell what it does. You're going to have to learn a little bit about if there's a specific day of the week, if you only run it to run during the week, on weekends, who has the authority to run it. There's a little trick I'll show you there. When you want it to fire off in terms of hour day. And this is not going to be something that you can have it fire off at whenever it completes fire off again. I'm going to oversimplify this to a degree, but first we need to take baby steps with Cron, and then you can go from there. One of the first examples that I'm going to show you with on Cron is how to get it to automatically restart pfSense. But you're going to say, but Ron, we don't need to do that. Well, yes, you do. I've yet to see any device that isn't helped by a periodic restart. Now, I'm not talking every hour, but every few days, every few weeks, but certainly no more than once a month. And if you think you may be having a problem where services quit running or things not work right, just having it do an automatic restart may be the thing that will be the easiest fix, or at least a short-term solution. So what we're going to do is we'll go down here to add, or up here to add, one of the two, and we will have this run, we'll say at 1:05 in the morning. Now, the day of the month, we're going to say all, and we'll just say all for the month, all for the day of week, and user will be root. Typically, this is what you will do. Now, the command we're going to use is shutdown-r now, and you click save. That's it. You're done. It's that simple. Now, if you want to see this run, and seeing is a poor choice of word, then you can go through and run it at a different time. You'll set it the clock for the job about a minute or two out, and then you should be good to go. Then in case of the shutdown command, now as you notice, all these others, they have a path. Well, the shutdown command, I found I didn't need to use that. So your first indication is to see that it's restarted is you can go out here to the main pfSense menu and look at your uptime. That's going to be what's going to tell you right there. There really is no logging kept of this, and this is the one downside of Cron. Whatever you're submitting to run is gonna have to do its own logging. Cron is just a very basic, okay, execute this command and go on. For those of you that are Linux gearheads, and I mean that with all respect, you may know of another way to do it, but with the interfaces I've seen so far within Cron, that's what I found. If you decide you don't want to have the job running for, or you want to suspend the job or stop the job, well, there's no provision in here for that. And we'll go in and edit the job. And again, there's no way to suspend it. If you go into the Linux command line, yes, there is a way. It's not necessarily intuitive for somebody who's new to Cron, but there is a way. I'm going to show you another way to do it. Now, you notice it said the user executing the command typically root. Well, this may not be an approved way of doing it. Okay, now how you stop the job? It's going to take a little bit of work, but nothing that you can't do. So what we'll do is we'll go in here to System, User Manager, and we'll create a user, in this case called User, or we call it Stop Job, or you pick the name that you want to use. Now in this case, I've already edited it. Password doesn't matter. I put one in there that should never be used, but I said this user cannot log in. Even if I had let it log in, because it wasn't part of the admins group, there are certain commands users cannot run, but just as an additional precaution, I said user cannot log in. So since we didn't, we did change something, so we'll click on save. So now if we go back here to services, Cron, and shutdown, and we'll change this to user. See, because the username existed, it didn't check to see that the user account was disabled. So we've given it a name, happens to be disabled. That command now is not going to be able to run. So normally if you put all your stuff in with user root, but if you have a job you want to suspend or not run for a while, you just put it as user, then that's going to take care of it. For those times when you have an extra interface where there's DMZ, or you've got your kids on a different interface to pfSense, or you've got your guest network on there and you don't want it active during certain times, I'm going to show you how to do that one. So first we'll get my ugly mug off the screen. We will go to Diagnostics, Command Prompt. You can do this same thing with an SSH interface, but I'm trying to show you how to do it on one interface, because for what we're doing, this particular sequence will do just fine. So what we're going to have to do is we run a command called ifconfig, and that stands for interface configuration if you're not familiar with Linux, and we will select execute. Comes back, and what we're looking for is the name of the interface, or at least the name that pfSense knows it by. So we've got RE0, RE1. Now remember when we set this up earlier, RE0 is our WAN interface. Now I know it says 192.168. I'm plugged into a Google modem and I just didn't change the addressing. And then RE1 is going to be our LAN interface. Well, say during the night there's really no reason for anything to have network access, or you've got your kids on a certain network and you don't want them to be using the network, say after 10 o'clock at night or before 7 in the morning. And if you put their wireless and wired on the same interface, it's a way of controlling the access. So now that we've got that, we're going to use RE0 in this case. We'll go back here to Services, Cron, and we will add a job, and we'll have this fire off at 5 minutes after 3 in the morning. Well, actually, no, I did say that, or so we'll go it off at 10 o'clock. And normally, the reason I don't stick to 0 is I've had problems with some jobs not firing off at the top of the hour. We will just say day of the month, day of the year, week, root. Now, this is where we've got to have a little bit of path to it. So we will do /sbin ifconfig RE0 down, and we'll click save. Then we'll create another job. Be nice if you could name the jobs, but that's not. Let's see, double check, maybe sure I didn't miss them. No, there's no option for naming the jobs. That would be nice, but then you're kind of taking this maybe a little bit out of standard. Then we will do 5 minutes after. We'll do it 7 a.m. But this is where if you got into, say, days of the week, you could say only Monday through Friday. Is this the case? If Saturday and Sunday, you can be a little more lenient. So sbin ifconfig RE0 up, save. So now you've got a way scheduled for your network interface to be shut down where you don't have to get into it. It'll just happen automatically. So for special situations, you can do that. I mean, yes, granted, you can go in here to interfaces and we'll pick on WAN so we don't shoot ourselves, but you can disable the interface here. Yes, that is an option, but I'm giving you a way where you can schedule it automatically so that when you want to take a certain interface down, and this is handy, especially when you have multiple interfaces, that you've got a way to do it. Now, there is some troubleshooting you can do with Cron without having to set up a command file and put some logging commands in there. So I've already SSH into it, and this is one of those cases where you really do need to SSH into it to be able to have a little bit easier time seeing what's going on, where the GUI interface, you can get there, but I think it's easier to do this. So we'll go into shell, and then we will change to var log. We will grep, which grep is a find command. Think of it that way. So we'll grep, and we will tell it to look for cron, and then system.log, if I can spell log. This all it tells you is there was a database change where you made the command to the different jobs you put in to do either rebooting it or turning it into something. So you can see that here, but as a general rule, it's not going to show you much. That's where if you really need to have that verbose level of logging as to what's going on, this is going to be something you'll have to learn how to set up what I call a command file or a batch file and do some logging. It can be done, but I'm just showing you the easy way to do it for the time being. I've shown you just a few examples of how to use Cron with pfSense. And this is to give you an idea, because if you want to go beyond that, you're going to need to spend a little bit of time. You're going to have to learn how some of the commands work and be prepared that it may not always do what you think that it's going to do. But one step at a time. And as you learn how to do some of this, either use OneNote and pick your documentation system to be able to keep track of this, because you're going to be learning some valuable information which could help you in that next job to set yourself apart from somebody else. At the very least, you're learning more how to use Cron with pfSense. You don't have to do everything so much the manual way if you can get Cron to do it for you, as long as you can want it done at certain times. If you need it done on demand, you may have to go through the GUI interface or get into CLI and run that command file on its own. Again, there's ways to do it, but Cron at least gives you a automated or semi-automated way of doing some of the things that you may need to do on a periodic basis, such as backing up pfSense. If you want to back it up at a certain schedule, which is not a function that directly exists within the GUI for pfSense, that's a possibility. If you want to run a speed test, again, there are examples available. And if you'd like for me to go into more of this, please let me know, and I'm happy to do additional videos. I just didn't want to go too far into the weeds if you're not interested on it at this point. But you can run speed tests. As long as it can be done from command line and you can send the output to a text file, you're got some possibilities of doing some other things. So give it a try. I think you're going to find Cron a very useful tool to have in your arsenal. If you're watching this YouTube, you'll see videos on the screen that are similar to the one you've just watched, or other content that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe now and enable notifications. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.